Hello, 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 guys. How are you doing out there? I miss you guys. I took a little brief hiatus for a moment there, but I am back. How was your weekend? Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm right back. How was your weekend, guys? Did you have a great one? I hope you did. Well, actually, today is not Monday. It's actually a little bit further along in the week. Because again, I took a little moment. I had to do some things and I am back now, So in any case, I'm hoping that you had a great weekend. I'm hoping that you're ready for more learning and more of how we can take back our health as women. That's what I'm here for. Now, you know what I'm about to tell you, that you are absolutely fantastically beautiful. And again, I say that to everyone because it's so important for women to understand just how beautiful they are. We have to do so many things as women. We're holding down homes. We're holding down our children. We're holding down our husbands and our families everywhere. And at the same time, we have to take care of ourselves. So I think for me, I don't care what size a woman is or what she looks like. I see them as a superwoman. And with that, it makes them beautiful. So if no one has told you today or even yesterday or the day before, just know that I think that you are absolutely beautiful. I don't care what you look like. And I hope that you understand that you're powerful and that you have so much to offer this world. So make sure that you go out there and shine always. And you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles, Her Plate, Her Power. Why do we say that? Because we use food to take back our power and proper nutrition. I am your host, functional nutritionist, Gail Thorpe, and I'm at your service. Okay? And I just want you to go ahead and grab a pen and paper, get your tea or your coffee, and if you want to have a little glass of wine, you can do that too. And I just want you to relax and let's get into it today. Woohoo! Okay, guys. So you know that I spend a lot of time talking about our hormones, talking about our reproductive health, and how food plays such a role and how it can harm us if we're not eating the right food, excuse me, or it can actually help to better us if we're doing the right thing and if we're taking back our plate. So one thing that I had talked about a few episodes ago, I talked a lot about, how we can have a toxic environment. And I like to dig even more into that too, because I don't think we understand how we can change the dynamic of our reproductive health, our hormones, just by some of the environment that we consume every day. So something that's, excuse me guys, I'm sorry, my voice is a little hoarse today. Some of the things that is in the public eye a lot lately, and they're finding a lot more about this, is basically microplastics. Now, what is microplastics? They are tiny plastic particles, smaller than 5 mm's, that can actually enter your body through food, water, and even air. Now, once inside, they may cross biological barriers like the placenta and interact with your reproductive organs and hormones. Now, research is still developing in this area, but evidence suggests that microplastics can disrupt our hormones, can damage our tissues, and also can impair fertility. Pretty powerful information on that, because again, I talked about this a few episodes back on consuming plastics and different type of, even lead that's, in our water bottles and foods and all kind of stuff that can actually disrupt our hormonal balance, right? So it's important that we get a grip on this. And because microplastics has definitely been in the medical community a lot lately, I felt that I wanted to kind of go back and cover a little bit more about it. Now, they're not direct microplastic symptoms, but they can contribute, to hormonal imbalances, irregular cycles. It can actually worsen your PMS. It causes fertility issues, difficulty conceiving, reduced sperm quality in men, and poor egg quality in women. Okay? Pregnancy complications at higher risk of preterm birth, low birth weight, and still under study. And pelvic inflammation or unexplained pelvic pain, which can be linked to endocrine disruptors and inflammation. Okay? And it also can help to worsen symptoms like endometriosis, PCOS, or fibroids. You see, a lot of clients that come to me, of course, have issues with their hormones. They have issues with like endometriosis, or they're having fibroids. And so I always make sure and go on a thorough journey with them and going back and helping to see, what are you consuming? What are you actually consuming? Are you cooking, or leaving your food in plastics, like real plastics, instead of things that are PBH free? What is causing you to possibly have this type of disruption in your hormones? And do you know, most of the time when I ask this question and I go back with the client, they actually are doing exactly what they shouldn't do. And that is, drinking water out of water bottles that contain plastics, leaving their food in plastics and then microwaving them. Okay? All kinds of stuff. And then they kind of wonder, well, how did I end up with my hormones so imbalanced? How did that happen? Well, like I said, they're still developing on the whole thing of microplastics, but they have found that this has actually have shown up in your body. And I just mentioned some of the ways that it has. Okay? Now, because many plastics contain endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDCs, like PBA and phthalates, microplastics may worsen or contribute, as I mentioned, to polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, fibroids, early menopause or premature ovarian aging, and thyroid dysfunction. Now, thyroid is highly hormone sensitive. Excuse me. Okay? So this is why we really need to be careful on what we're doing. Because our cells, everything in our body is so sensitive. And a lot of times, when conditions start to arise, it's the environment in which the cells grow, it's the environment in which their hormones is actually, sending signals throughout your body that determines if it's going to be off-kiltered, right? So it's so important that we as women, especially if we're trying to get pregnant, if we're trying to have a better time when we're going through premenopause or going through menopause itself, if we're having fibroid problems, we need to really hone in, and I'm very serious about that. We really need to hone in, on what we're eating, what we're using to change the environment, what type of toxicities are we putting into our system. We need to really hone in on that. And I do apologize, guys. Excuse me. I'm having one of those things today. My voice is going a little bit, it's trying to go a little bit again, and then it comes back. So if you hear me, coughing a little bit, I apologize about that. So, when do we need to see the doctor when this starts to really get bad for us? So we need to consider medical help if we experience persistent, irregular, or absent menstrual cycles, unexplained infertility after trying for 6 to 12 months, pelvic pain, not explained by other causes, reoccurrent miscarriages, and then signs of hormone imbalance like severe acne, hair loss, unusual weight changes, night sweats at a young age. So when we start to experience that kind of off kilter with our hormones, those are telltale signs that something is going off here. So there are testings, special testings, that you can actually take, and I definitely can do it as well. They can let you know if you have any of these type of microplastics, because they're so small, but it gets into your body, as I mentioned to you, and can cause reproductive issues. Okay? Now, some of the testings that the doctor may do will be hormonal panels. So he would do an estrogen, progesterone panel, a testosterone panel. He will test for the LH and the FSH and your thyroid. He will do inflammation markers like your CRP and cytokines. He will also do an ultrasound, like an MRI, to check for endometriosis or fibroids or ovarian reserve. He will do fertility testing, so AMH levels for ovarian reserve and semen analysis for men. And he will also do toxicology tests. Now, sometimes that may not necessarily be routine, but some specialty labs like mine's that I can do can actually test for PBA and folates, heavy metals, which travel with plastics. Okay. How can we reduce our exposure to microplastics? So again, we want to make sure that we avoid plastic water bottles. We want to use glass or stainless steel. Very, very important when we're drinking our water every day. We want to make sure of that. Okay. Some of your leading brands out there, and I'm not going to say who, but I want you to check. Some of your popular leading brands actually are full-fledged plastics. And you're not even recognizing it, and you're drinking their bottles every single day. So we want to check for that. We want to skip microwaving food in plastic containers, like I just mentioned to you. Right? So not only are we storing the food in plastic containers, we're microwaving in plastic containers our food, or at home or at work. Let's be careful and make sure we don't do that anymore. We want to use cloth or paper bags instead of plastic bags. We want to make sure to filter our tap water. So we want to look for filters that remove microplastics like carbon block and reverse osmosis. And we want to choose fresh foods over processed or packaged foods. Okay? And we want to make sure with even our cosmetics, we want to look for things that says microbeads. Okay? These are things that we can prevent, ways that we can prevent that particular exposure that can happen. And like I said, it's so small and so tiny, but it infiltrates your body. And it can cause disruptions in your reproductive health, which can prevent you from getting pregnant. It can cause other conditions. And if you already have, let's say, fibroids or endometriosis, it's only going to worsen it. And we don't want that. So now, how do we take back our plate with this? Well, we can definitely take back our plate, as we know. Okay, we can definitely do things that's going to support estrogen detoxification. So cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, and cauliflower. You have heard me say this, and I'm going to continue to say this time and time again, because we have to be able to detoxify and get that estrogen out of our body, because it starts to become excess estrogen, which is going to not be good for us and not be good for our hormones. We want to do fiber-rich foods, so we want to do oats and chia, flax and beans, which helps to bind toxins in the gut So these fiber-rich foods, let me repeat that. Fiber-rich foods like oats and chia and flax and beans actually help to bind toxins that is in our gut. And if we can bind the toxins in our gut, we can actually get rid of them when we use the bathroom. So that's why fiber-rich foods are so important. So we want to help to do seaweed and spirulina. And this is helped to, or actually shown to help reduce heavy metal and plastic toxicity. Okay? And then colorful fruits, so berries, pomegranate seeds, and beets all provide that antioxidants that actually combat oxidative stress. Green tea, which helps to boost detox enzymes in your liver. That's why we always say, you hear nutritionists say, like myself, as long as you can have green tea, because some medications may not allow that, but if you can have green tea, it's really great in helping to boost the detoxification enzymes in the liver. And that's what we need. We need our liver to work for us to get those toxins out of our body. And definitely in this case, the microplastics. And then omega-3s like salmon and sardines, flax seeds, walnuts. All of these things help to reduce inflammation. Because a lot of times when we go, and when I just mentioned some of the testings that the doctors will do, and one is definitely a test to see how the inflammation is going on in your body. And some of us are completely inflamed. And it's because we're not taking back our plate. We're not eating the foods to help with that process. Right? So we need to make it imperative that we are consuming the things that can help with inflammation and also at the same time help to detox our body. Now, foods that is going to be harmful when it comes down to microplastics. Of course, as we always know, ultra-processed foods often package in plastics. Okay? And they're going to have a higher microplastic content. So remember, food that's packaged in plastics, full-fledged plastics I'm talking about, is going to have a higher microplastic content. And high-fat animal products, plastics accumulate in fat tissues. And I'm going to repeat that again. High-fat animal products. So plastics actually accumulate in fat tissues. Fast food and takeout often is wrapped in plastics. Okay? They normally have the PFAS treated in the packaging. And this is why it's so important to eat as healthy and natural, organic as much as possible, because it could just be even the packaging. Just the packaging, but I don't want to say like just the packaging, but the packaging alone. It may not be the actual food that's in the package, but if it's already on the package, it's now going to get into the food, which when you consume will go right into your body. And then we look at sugary snacks and sodas, which increase inflammation and oxidative stress, making plastic exposure more damaging. Okay? So with this, microplastics may slightly affect reproductive and hormonal health, but lifestyle, food choices, and reducing exposure can make a real difference. Can make a real big difference. Okay? And like I said, guys, this is an emerging topic in the health community. They're talking a lot about microplastics because they're starting to see that some cancers can even be linked to this. Okay? And when doctors go to, I just say if you have some type of surgery sometime in your reproductive area, they can actually see these things show up in your body. So this is why this is starting to be a topic that's becoming emerging. There hasn't been a full-fledged study on what are the long-term effects, but what we do know is what I mentioned to you when it comes down to microplastics. And like I said, I wanted to bring this to your attention because, one, it is an emerging topic that's become extremely popular amongst the medical community because they're starting to see more of this as they go along in women patients. And I also want to, like I mentioned, bring this up to you because so many different things can disrupt our hormonal balance. And when I have my clients come to me and they often want to know, like, how did I end up like this? How did I end up with my hormones all over the place? How did I end up with endometriosis? How did I get PCOS? How did I get fibroids? And it may not happen to be microplastics, but a lot of times microplastics is contributing to their imbalance because it's such a tiny particles, like I mentioned to you. And when they enter the body through food, water, and even air, this is when our bodies start to become toxic, right? So it's hard to have our cells, our hormones, and anything else that's going on in our body to be healthy when these type of things are happening. Now, you can't walk around every day and literally, cover your nose and not do this and not do that. I mean, of course, I'm not going to make you feel like that, where you walked around like, don't touch me, I'm sterile. That's not the goal. But the goal is to help you to understand what can throw off our body as women. Okay? What can throw off our hormones as women? That is my goal. And what's the solution? What can we do? And I just find that, the more I do this type of work, which I absolutely love, the more food just really, really blows my mind on what food, clean, organic, non-processed food can do for us. So we really, really need to take a look at our diets and the type of lifestyle. Are we living a toxic lifestyle? And that can cover many layers, right? Or are we living a lifestyle that we're mindful and we're really trying our best to put the best possible foods and nutrients in our bodies, right? So that's why I like to bring these type of topics, because you may not often hear about microplastics, you may not hear about those things. You may not know what it can do, right? So we talked about that today. Now, you always know what is now next, and that is our anti-microplastic detox juice that I want to give you. And as you know, if you follow this podcast, you know that no matter what I am talking about, I like to give a juice or a smoothie, or maybe I've even sometimes giving a recipe. Why do I do that? Because I feel that when you're listening to me and you're listening to these different things, you may say, gosh, I want to start right now. What can I do today to start making whatever I'm talking about better for me, since it applies to me? So I consider this as a gift to you so that you can start today, right? So in this case, we talked about microplastics, and now I'm giving you a juice to help to detox your body from this. Now, this ingredients that I'm giving you actually can serve two. So you can either give it to someone else or you can save it for the next day. So you want to do 1 cucumber, which helps to aid in hydration, and silica for tissue health, right? You want to do 2 celery stalks, which is alkalizing and helps to support detoxification. And then 1 green apple, which helps the fiber and antioxidants. You want to do a cup of kale or spinach, which provides the chlorophyll that helps bind toxins. Remember, we talked about that a few moments ago. Certain things that you eat can actually help bind toxins in your gut, and that's what we want. And then we want to do 1 small beet, which helps the liver to detox, and it also helps to provide a better blood flow and give you that blood flow support that you need. And then 1 inch fresh ginger, which is anti-inflammatory. And then we want to do a juice of a half lemon, which helps to provide our vitamin C, which helps also to detox and also helps to balance our hormones. Now, this is optional. You can do a tablespoon of chia seeds. You can let them soak after juicing for extra fiber and helping to bind the plastics. So we want to go ahead and wash all the ingredients. You know what I'm going to tell you. I want those ingredients to be organic. Organic, organic, organic. And then we want to run the cucumber, the celery, the apple, the kale, the spinach, the beet, and ginger through your juicer. You want to go ahead and squeeze in the fresh lemon juice after juicing. You want to go ahead, stir, and pour into a glass cup. And if you're using a chia, stir in and let it sit 5 minutes before drinking. Now, this works again because fiber and chlorophyll, which is the greens, the chia, and the apple, help to bind and flush out toxins. And then we have the beets with the lemon, which helps to support the liver in processing endocrine disruptors. And the ginger helps to reduce inflammation, which is linked to microplastic exposure. And then hydrating cucumber and celery. It helps actually the kidneys and the lymphatic system to clear waste. Okay? Now you can absolutely enjoy this delicious juice. What's wrong? Am I not being able to say delicious today? You can enjoy this delicious juice 2 to 3 times a week as part of your detox support routine. Okay? And you know I always recommend drinking in the morning on an empty stomach. So that way those nutrients can get in right into your bloodstream and start to do the work. Okay, guys? All right. So we're going to definitely work on helping to detox from microplastics. Like I said, it's so small, but it can penetrate your system so very easy, and it can cause, as we talked about, a lot of work, a lot of damage, a lot of imbalance of hormones, a lot of other conditions. It's definitely not going to make the things better, right? So we have to make sure when we're questioning ourselves, why am I so hormonal? Let's take a look at what we're eating. Let's take a look at how toxic our environment is. Let's take a look at these things. And I can guarantee you, when you start looking more better at the water that you're drinking and if the bottle is plastic. So I'm telling you, there's leading brands out there that I see you ladies are drinking, and they are full-fledged plastics. No good. How we package, how the foods are packaged, and what we store our food in. And if we have them in plastics, if we go to microwave it at work, no good. These simple little things cause toxic environment in your body, which causes the imbalance in our hormones. So I'm going to always bring stuff to your attention that's talked about in the medical community that affects us as women and what we can do to better it. So we talked a lot of good things today about microplastics. What are they? We know it's also an emerging field that a lot of talk about, but there's not a lot of information on the long-term things that can happen. But let's just look at the short-term things that can happen from this. We talked about the foods, of course, that we can do to take back our health, to help to detox, to help prevent inflammation. And we talked about the foods that are going to make microplastics a happy microplastic, because these type of foods can be harmful and help to make it even worse for if it happens to penetrate your body and how. We talked about if you have to go to the doctor. I always like to bring that attention to you, because sometimes we may not know that we have this exposure, and we need to go, okay, when we have the different points that I talked about that we have to look for, okay? Sometimes it could be a little bit more than just what we think. And I also talked about some of the testings that they may do. Now, one thing is for sure, sometimes doctors may test for if you have folates and plastics in your body. But sometimes they don't, because that's considered like a specialized testing. With someone like myself, I'm a functional nutritionist, and I'm able to test for that. I can test for a huge panel of all the different type of plastics that may be in your system. Okay? So if you want to know more information about that, you want to definitely give me a call. Let me know, because that's something that I definitely cover. Okay, so we talked about that as well. We talked about some of the conditions that can happen when you have the microplastic exposures. And we definitely talked about what we can do to help to detox with this fantastic juice that we need to definitely take a look at doing at least 2 to 3 times a week, preferably in the mornings. Okay, guys, we covered some great information today. Some things you may not have known, some you may have known, but I want to always bring to you how we as ladies can take back our health. And we can always take back our health through proper nutrition, stress management, exercise, and relaxation. And if you are looking to pretty much say, hey, I think I'm going through that type of exposure, I think I have it based on some of the things I just talked about, and you're looking for someone who's going to be accountable to you, that can create a customized program for you when it comes down to your nutrition, you want to give me a call. Or just simply book an appointment. You want to go to www.nutritionudesign.com. And actually, if you go onto my website, I have an area where you can book a 30-minute consultation for me that is 100% free. That's right, you heard me. And after that, we'll take it from there and see what we want to do. Okay? But at least get started. I have over 200 specialty panels that can test for microplastics, and I can also test for other generic variances that you may have. Okay? Not to mention the supplements. I have well over 200 different practitioner-based supplements that you're just not going to find in the stores. The goal for me is to get to the bottom line of your health. So I have to make sure I provide the right type of testing to be able to get there. Consider me a health detective. I'm your personal health detective to see exactly what's going on so that we can get to the bottom line and get some results. And as you know, guys, I always say this to you before I end. Okay, your health is your wealth. You've heard that saying before. But I love that saying because it's very true. Because you know what? If you don't have your health, there is no wealth. There absolutely is no wealth. And my other thing that I always say is that wellness is not just a focus. It is a lifestyle because it is. I don't believe necessarily in diets. I believe in lifestyle nutrition, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a lifestyle. This is something that you're going to do for the rest of your life in taking care of your health. But in order for you to take care of your health, you have to know what to do. That's why I'm here. I'm here to uncover different things that you may have heard about, not sure about, or things you may have never heard about. And what are some of the things that can be done to make a difference when it comes down to taking back your plate. Okay, guys, I think we have covered it all today. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week. I apologize because my voice kept going in and out a little bit today. You know, every now and then I get that little dryness, a little happens to me. But I have my water here. I am hydrating. It's just sometimes that happens. You know why? I talk too much. That's what it really is. I talk too much. No, I enjoy talking to you, and I enjoy talking to my clients and friends and family. So I guess, yeah, I enjoy helping, and I enjoy making changes and making people better each and every day. So with that being said, like I said, enjoy the rest of your week. And until next week, guys, have a fantastic rest of your day. And again, your health is your wealth. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you soon.